Roadside signs are an integral component of the nation's transportation infrastructure and provide the driver with critical information to successfully navigate the roadway. Roadside signs must adhere to established criteria to fully inform the roadway driver in a safe, reliable, and consistent manner. Reasons for these established procedures and the primary source for them are outlined by Natalia McMillan, a transportation engineer supervisor with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
So there's a couple of main reasons why we have sign standards. The main part is for public safety. The sign materials are manufactured in a way that they have a breakaway capability. So if a driver does happen to exit the side of the roadway, the sign needs to be installed properly for the sign to properly break away and that breakaway function to work properly. And that keeps the drivers safe. The other is for driver visibility, just general driver use. As they travel down the roadway, there are certain standards that ensure that the signs are placed in a visible position for drivers and users on the roadway. So the MUTCD, Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, is set by the Federal Highway Administration, and they set a minimum set of standards for all sorts of functions and properties of the signs, as well as the signs installation themselves. If you also work for the State Transportation Cabinet, most states, including ours, have their own set of standards, including standard drawings, and they're a bit more detailed and stringent, but they also meet the minimum criteria of the MUTCD.
A useful guide to sign installation was published by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and the University of Kentucky. It contains an abbreviated summary of sign standards and guidance from several publications. The publication outlines several steps to follow for the proper installation of signs and sign supports. One of the first steps is to mount a soil anchor plate to the anchor sleeve. A soil anchor plate is a flanged metal attachment connected to an anchor sleeve. A soil anchor plate helps protect the sign against lateral sway, commonly seen as sign fluttering. David Williams, a highway technician with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, will show us how to install the soil anchor plate.
Before we start the installation of the sign, we have to install the plate to the anchor. And this is done with a 36-inch anchor and a plate and grade 8 bolts and nuts. And when we install the plate to the very top of the anchor, as you can see, and there is holes drilled into the plate, and we alternate our holes. Or we alternate how our bolts go into the holes. One goes through one side, and the other goes through the other side at a higher location. And this ensures that the plate does not move back and forth when it's being driven into the soil. And we just use an impact to tighten down the bolts.
To install the post anchor, several steps are recommended. 1. Contact 811 before subsurface work begins. 2. Measure the required horizontal offset for the anchor location. 3. Drive the anchor assembly directly into the ground between 32 and 34 inches, leaving a maximum 4-inch stub height. 4. While the anchor is driven into the ground, periodically check to ensure the anchor is plumb. This can be easily done with a magnetic torpedo level. David will show us how to install the anchor into the ground.
All right, now we're going to check the lateral offset for where we're going to install the anchor to make sure when we put the sign up that the sign is properly far enough off the road so that no vehicle will come in contact with it when just normal driving operations. Keep on going a little bit. We need to be at least 5 foot. All right, and we're perfect. All right, good to go. All right, we're gonna grab our level so that way we can make sure the anchor is straight in the ground and the sign will be sitting upright once it's fully installed. All right. Turn it a little more. Now we're going to check the level. We're going to check it side to side, front to back. And then we're going to make sure it's facing the road. The right. All right, run it in the ground. We're going to check it again one more time, if necessary, to make sure it's still level. Check it a few more times and check, make sure it's still turned the right way. You need to turn it just a little bit. That way the sign face is facing the roadway at the proper angle. All right, run it on. Okay, and we run it in just enough so that way we have a few holes sticking out, so that way when we put our signpost in the ground, into the anchor, we can still get the crooked bolt in to mount the sign to the anchor.
To install the sign and the signpost into the anchor, several steps are needed. 1. Mount the sign to the post. 2. Determine the required post length. 3. Cut the post to length. 4. Insert the post into the anchor. 5. Secure the post to the anchor with a corner bolt. These steps are illustrated in the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's sign installation guide and demonstrated by David.
All right, we're going to pull the sign out. We're going to get it prepped to put onto the pole. We've got 2 holes here we have to punch out to install it onto the pole. We're going to use a drill to punch the holes out, and we're going to go from the face side to the back. That way we don't take a chance of destroying the sign in any way. Now that we got the holes punched out, we're going to pull the pole out and we're going to install the sign onto the pole. We're going to lay the sign down, make sure it's facing the correct way. That way it's not turned upside down or the wrong way. We're going to check and make sure that we've got it down onto the sign pole and that we have our holes lined up. And we're going to use rivets with little plastic washers to install into the holes that we punched out. And these rivets flare out and hold the sign onto the pole. And we're going to check and make sure our secondary hole is lined up, and we're going to install the secondary rivet into the hole. We got to make sure our rivets are flush with the mounting. And now we're going to take the sign, we're going to set it in the anchor. We're going to grab our string level. And we're going to take it and hold it. The string level will set all the way on the ground at the travel road, the way of the traveled path. And we take our string level and we figure out where it's completely level with the road. Which here we are pretty flat, so we know that at least the top of the anchor is square with the top of the road. So here we have 5 feet from the bottom of the ground to where this is where the bottom of the sign needs to be. We will come on up and see that we need to cut off right at 14 inches off of the pole. So that way that the bottom of the sign will be at the proper height when traveling the roadway. All right, now we're going to measure out our distance from the bottom and figure out what we need to cut, and we said 14 inches. So there is 14 inches right there. And now we're going to put the sign up for final installation. The sign post is not supposed to go into the anchor no more than 8 inches. So as long as it's at least 8 inches in the ground, you're good. We're going to check our height from the bottom of the ground to the bottom of the sign again, just to double check. All right, now we're going to put the crooked bolt into the back side of the plate and come out the other side, and we're going to tighten it all down, encompassing the plate, the anchor, and the pole all together. This is a breakaway bolt. And it is designed so if a car comes through and hits it, it's to break off, and then we can unbolt it, pull the broken piece out, and reinstall a new sign. And that is a final installation of the sign.